G'day, my name's Cannon Fodder, and welcome back to Prison Architect. This is one of the projects that I've been working on for in this particular game for the last 2 months. Shortly after the start of the last series, or my first Prison Architect series, I was given a challenge to try and make a hub and spoke prison, a la the Eastern State Penitentiary in Pennsylvania, US, modeled around something called the silent system, where all the prisoners were kept separate. They had to be visited by the warden at least twice a day. But for the most part, they had their own yard, they had their own cell. Their cells had everything that they needed, basically. And so the challenge was to make something along those lines. Now, obviously, there are multiple limitations, given that this is a computer game. For one thing, it is top-down, so I cannot build a multi-story prison. If you look at some of the images of the East State Penitentiary, or the Silent System Prison from Pennsylvania, it is multi-story, basically. The guards get to walk on top of the cells, where they can overlook not only the prisoners, but also the prisoners' yards. Now, we should go into some of those problems that I had. So, obviously, given that this is a computer game and it has multiple, not problems, but stuff that I couldn't quite make work. All the yards had to be a certain size, a 5x5, which is cell size I can get down to a 2x2, but I just felt like that wasn't really within the spirit of it, given that some of the pictures of cells showed things like pianos or desks or that kind of thing in it. Obviously, there are multiple peripheral buildings, and we'll get to that in a second. So, cell size wasn't an issue. It was just the amount of stuff that I wanted to put in there. If the cell's going to be a 2x2, then I'd have to have communal showers, communal bathrooms, and that kind of thing, and that really wouldn't have worked. Yards do have a minimum size. We can just go and quickly check rooms. Let's go to our yard button, wherever it's gone. It's one of the ones with the big number. Here we go. You can see there is room requirements. Minimum size of 5x5. Not possible for tiling them next to each other, which is why we've ended up with this weird pattern here. It worked a little bit better on the diagonals, but even still, we still have some little offshoots. So, like I said, while cell size wasn't really a problem, I did have some issues on the diagonals trying to figure out a way to stack these in a way that made sense. And obviously, after having built one of them, I did try and use the clone tool over here, but it's not very accurate and doesn't work all that well. I had some issues where it was just saying, like, my building plans were blocked for whatever reason, so I had to offset them sometimes, which is how we get this little weird dog leg. Same here, and same here as well. Or I had to just adjust where the wings sat on the map just to try and get it to move. So, but we got there eventually. The cells are pretty well the same size as the other. I think they are anyway. So what are they? I did use the improved cell as a bit of a template, sort of. I believe it is, 5x6. So all the cells should be 5x6. The other all 5x5. I think these ones might actually be a little bit longer, just because of how it ended up working out. They ended up getting a radio. Okay, twas not my intention. All right. So some prisoners are better off than others. These guys all have radios. These guys do not, which makes me wonder. Yep, they've got radios, and they got gym mats. Oh, I know what it was. So we've got And these guys don't actually have any shower. They don't actually have any drains. That's a problem. These guys don't have any drains either, which means whenever they have a shower, their cells flood. Okay. So, issues with blueprints aside, it's actually ended up working pretty well. Aside from one thing, kitchens. I couldn't figure out a way to get the kitchens to work, or at least not within the center space, which I've basically turned into solitary confinement. I mean, this is technically solitary confinement at its finest anyway, but even still. Just ways to make the games work. You basically need ways of making money, and that's obviously by having prisoners do work for you. So, I do have, obviously, things like libraries and what have you, and classrooms and all that. That's just unfortunately how Prison Architect works as a game, but it's fine. I've managed to make certain things about this game work for me, but yeah. So I couldn't figure out a way to get canteens to work with having prisoners in their cells and getting food to them. So we do still have communal canteens, as well as like other communal classrooms and this. While not specifically this layout is replicated, each of the own deployment zones will have their own designated canteen and classroom and infirmary and everything. So obviously, minimum security is the one that I've started filling out just to give it a bit of a test run and also highlight some of the other problems that I've had with it. And then obviously, if I were to continue this, they would each have their own stuff. That's weird. That's super odd. Either way, it's turned out okay. One of the issues that I did discover is during yard time they don't stay in their own yards. When I first opened it up for prisoners, I did notice the fact that they were having like sometimes 2 people per yard, 1 person per yard. The guards do also like hanging out in the yards for some reason. I think that's just part of the game's coding, whereas like any guards that aren't deployed but are on station will basically go and hang out in a yard. So that's always interesting. I did have a lot of fun building the front entryway. So this is the pseudo front, if you will. It's basically where reception is and all the offices are. It's got its own kitchens and canteens to feed all of the staff. The true entrance is actually over here. This is where all the prisoners get dropped off. I have enclosed this area so that when they do get dropped off and they're just waiting here, they don't tend to make a run for it. And then they're transported through exports, through the power room, and up and along here, where they're transported down here, changed if they need to be, and then sent back up. I may need to change that, but I had a lot of fun with the front yard as well as with this little half arch. Did also experiment with some of the Going Green DLC stuff. Apparently, I am exporting $5,000 worth of power, which, in case you hadn't noticed, I kind of need it. I did use the unlimited funds modifier, which is part of base game, because this required a lot of trial and error. Mostly in the diagonals, but also with some of the other stuff. I did have a mod to make, when I was experimenting with canteens inside cells, I had a mod to make the really long tables, 1 tile long, but it did some weird, funky stuff with lighting, and just it didn't work. So I scrapped it. But yeah, so money is a bit of an issue. Continuing this going forward, it would all be about making the prison profitable. And that would involve, obviously, min-maxing crops better and trying to figure out ways of completing prison labor, as well as other various grants. So we're currently looking at a total of around 464 staff. We have 2 max sec prisoners, and that's literally because I ran out of room in minimum security. We have a total capacity of 216 prisoners with 400 and, with about 150 regular guards, 46 armed guards, and 20 dog handlers. I think I've unlocked sniper towers, but I haven't actually placed them anywhere. Haven't really had enough playtime with prisoners in it to actually notice any problems with security. But as for it's 365 prisoners with 216 total guards allowed with a current capacity of 150. But each wing currently holds roughly 90 prisoners. Apparently there is a prisoner that is unable to be assigned a cell. I don't know where that is. I mean, literally the only other reason why I put them into maximum security is because I believe the canteen is done? I'm not sure. I do know that I ran out of room for minimum security prisoners. I have also opened up max sec as well, so let me just check this one. It's over here. There are no canteens accessible. There are no prisoners to eat. This is the maximum security wing. Why are there no prisoners? Interesting. I will have to figure this one out. We do have... What is it? Logistics. Food distribution. There we go. That's interesting. There should be 2 maximum security prisoners, but there aren't. Oh, there we go. It's just taking the game a while to figure it out, which means, what's the other one? There are no canteens by this cell. Do I have to, like... And that's not even 5x5. So, even as I'm going through this now, I'm still discovering that there are some small problems, like 1 square missing from that yard. Amongst other things, like this is not 5x5 either. For some reason, the yard is inside the cell. Yeah. Discovering issues. So it's going to take some finessing to get this thing properly operational, sort out all the problems with it. But it was both fun and also supremely frustrating to build this. Like I said, diagonals were a bit of a pain in the butt. But aside from that, probably spent a little bit too much time making everything green. I've still got heating to go through. There's probably some power issues. Obviously, the problems with... Oh, look. It's sorted out all its problems. That's great. He's up there. Gotta redesign some of the cells. Micromanage some of the staff a little bit better. One of the other fun things that I discovered is that even if you have like 200 odd total workers, they still don't work very well. The game can only keep track of so much, so that does end up taking a while. I worked around it by basically just placing blueprints and letting the game run while I was off at work, dealing with it that way. Got to work through all of this stuff. Got to work through some of this stuff, trying to explore the going green a little bit further. If people would like to see some time lapses of at least some of the build progress, I can upload those to YouTube. No promises as to when that might happen, but I still have the footage for it. That's really about it. It was an interesting challenge, interesting to read up on, frustrating to build, but I'm glad that I did it and that I overcame it. So, it's done, but not quite. I'll probably have to do an update video at some stage. But that's it. If you like what you saw, you know what to do. My name's Kenneth Fodder. This is my hub and spoke prison and prison architect. Thank you all for watching. See you next time. Just a short addendum here at the end of the video. The map will also be uploaded to the Steam Workshop. Link is in the description down below.